United HealthGroup UNH stock has recovered and gapped up primarily because Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway disclosed a major investment. Guys, we're talking around 1.6 billion for approximately 5 million shares, which drove investor optimism up and sparked a strong rally. That's why we see this big movement to the upside, guys. After being very beat up over a long period of time and continued to get beat up, so we saw some hope here in the buyers to really start to push this thing up. We saw a nice support around that 250-ish range. We got a nice movement to the upside. We found an ascending support. Buyers winning these little battles here, but then we really get pushed all the way back to the downside, further than we did last time, to that $234 level. But once that big investment hit with the stock, we saw a nice recovery, and we did break through that floor of around that 250 to 255, reclaimed that, and then continued to the upside with a gap up and continuation to that $317 level. That was the exact level that was giving the stock a lot of trouble after seeing that big gap down. We saw try to test that range here and get over it. Cannot be flushed back down, try to retest it. Once again, reject and then come back down and really try to get over it. Nice green wide bar showing that buyers are ready to move upwards, but we did see a following big rejection from the sellers, and that really brings us under this consolidation range, that being around that $287 level, and then further down from there around that 281. And then all the way down, we gap down, continue to that 234. So nice to see finally some nice buyer pressure in the stock, as the stock is very, very beat up. Take a look on the weekly time frame. This is where we're going to start the analysis. United Health Group was a very strong stock. We see this obvious long-term kind of ascending profile that we had going on. And right after we got over that $255 level, we see a lot of steam pick up with the stock. Really like a mountain all the way to the upside. We find a large chop zone between that 545 and 432. We kind of come back and forth on that before moving higher, where we reached those all-time highs of 621. And now we try to stay above there, but that was a harder kind of area to hold, holding above that 545. We did for a bit, right? But then we came back below it, tried to get above it, couldn't reach that exact high that we made right here. And then we really flushed downwards, guys. We're talking a very large movement in a small period of time. We see that 1 week alone, guys, that very strong red bar here, guys. That move was very detrimental. After finding that big rejection, guys, we see around 25 to 30% downwards on the stock, and then all the way to this floor, roughly around 60 to 65% to the floor here. So very big move to the downside. This stock was a very strong stock for a long time, and we see a major shift in price action. We see that the buyers finally start to find some good momentum on their side. We find that bottom, we get up in a nice ascending profile, but then once again, these sellers step in here, guys, with continued bad earnings and news, right? That initial stem was from very bad earnings on UNH, as well as just bad fundamentals. That's why we see such a drastic move to the downside. And now most recently, once we got that investment from Warren Buffett, we do see a nice kind of recovery here. But the question is, are we going to get over that 317, that exact level being very much a tough resistance to get over in more recent times? And can we finally get over that 339 and start to fill these gaps? All right, guys, turning to the daily now, we see that these gap downs were no small gap downs. That first one being around $100 on stock price gapping down. And we really continue further. After that, we continued around $100 more to the downside after that big $100 gap down. So buyers had no answer for that gap down. And after that, we see another pretty big gap down, that being roughly around $35 on stock price. And that continues downwards from that gap down to another $100, guys, around 120 total, counting that gap down. So very bad price action for UNH. We just see it get completely destroyed here in a very small period of time, given how much stock price went down. And this is where we see a bit of different price action. So we haven't covered UNH on the channel for a while, given that this thing really got out of the zone, that we started seeing some nice bullish interest. So we did see that bottom. We did get up in this ascending profile, hit that ceiling of 317, couldn't get over that, but then we kind of see an ascending support get created. We see a nicer support of 295 kind of hold up, and then the buyers win this little battle with an obvious green wide bar, breaking through that resistance zone and continuing upwards, but we once again bounce off 317. So now we can't hold 317 for 2 times. And then we get another descending resistance, but we meet back up with this ascending support, break through that with another nice green wide bar, continuing up, trying to fully get over that 317, right? Very nice move to the upside, guys. That being a solid move, looking like we were about to hit that 339, which is the top of this range right here. That after that gap down, that was the top point. We get to around 327, and then after that, we come down to the downside, and we can't find this ascending support again. You see that buyers try to buy back in once sellers push us under that, but ultimately cannot regain that ascending support, and we flush further downwards, and then we get out of this general chop range that we were seeing right here further down under that 281 level and gapping down, continuing to the downside. And at this point, just looked very bearish. If we look on the monthly, guys, this is where stock really picked up that steam, right? After getting over that 250-ish rough range, this is where we see volatility kind of come into play, breaking over that, and then we see a nice continuation to the upside. Past that, not a whole lot going on with the stock, so seeing price get under that level, once again, after trying to find a bullish rally here, wasn't a good sign, and we stopped covering UNH for a bit, given that those bad circumstances just wasn't looking good on the chart. But now we have good fundamentals finally come into play. With that big investment from Warren Buffett, definitely helped stock price rebound here, hitting that bottom of 234, and now we've seen nice buyer momentum, that being in a short period of time. But once again, we are met with that 317 resistance. So in the short term, guys, you want price to get over that 317, that being a major resistance as of more recent times. Once here, twice here, 3 times here. Now this will be the 4th real retest of this zone after getting completely destroyed once again. This is very crucial that we get over here. You want to see price kind of hold this 295 rough range as good support. So if price did come back down to the downside, you want to see it bounce here, and you want to see price start to trend back upwards to that 317, finally get that break, and then finally get that break of 339 as we have to start to fill these gaps. The bears are going to continue to be in that control if we can't see some nice bullish momentum to the upside, guys. If we can't break that 317, can't break that 339, we're going to continue in a bad downtrend. So as a bull, you need to see price continue its movement up, as we are very volatile here. Nice movement to the upside in a short amount of time. You want to see this move continue, break through that 317, testing that 339, trying to get a break. Fill this gap here, as this was around an 11% gap down. Then would have a lot of price action to try to trend back upwards, and we have a very large gap right here where we'd have to fill. So in the grand scheme of things, once again, looking at the monthly, huge and very sharp downtrend that we are caught in. So you need to see buyers try to step in here. If we see a hard rejection at that 317, guys, this could just be a very weak kind of attempt to get price back upwards and remain in this sharp downtrend. I mean, with that kind of investment being made by Berkshire Hathaway, that definitely promotes a lot of optimism within the buyers. So that's a good sign there fundamentally. If the earnings continue to be bad, then share price will continue to be affected. But as of more recent times, we do see some nice fundamentals finally come into this stock. So that could help share price go a bit higher here. So while we're in this rally to the upside, you definitely want to see those important resistances get broken through and claimed. If we get a sharp rejection at 317 or 339, not looking good. Short term, I am bullish on the stock. If we can break this 317, I think I'd be bullish to that 339. And if we can break that 339, I think there's a strong possibility we fill this little gap down right here. With this kind of buyer momentum, the buyers have to utilize that and use that to their advantage in the short term. All right, guys, I'm turning to the hourly chart. We see that attempt to break down the stock even further, finding that bottom at 234. And then we see a healthy ascending profile, breaking back above that kind of zone of 255. And then we see a nice gap up, following that very nice news there in that investment. And then we see trending to around that 317 and a sharper, narrow kind of stair step like pattern. Move up, small retracement, nice move up, small retracement. If we can continue in this pattern, we should be seeing a move up again, retesting that zone, trying to break through, maybe small pullback, use that as support. Let's trend up, smaller pullback. That would be a good bullish sign here, as there is still a lot of back and forth with this stock, but we have had good fundamental news come in. That's what you want to see here, guys. So overall standpoint, definitely very, very nice news. I think for the bulls, this was a big win, getting that good news. But for this stock to be in the clear, guys, we have to start breaking these more recent resistances. Buyers have to start winning these little battles, and that will transform to a recovery of this extremely harsh move to the downside. If we're really counting in that entire move, around $380 to the downside on share price. So huge amount of space to really recover here for the buyers. If they can't continue with this momentum, we could be seeing nice movement to the upside and continued buyer pressure. We definitely do see volume start to surge in here, guys, with the stock. So volume can continue to be on our side and aid those big buyer moves up. Could be looking good here. In the short term, watch that 317 to get broken and claimed as possible support. And watch that break of 339 finally get out of this overall kind of formation area and starting to fill this second gap down right here. So that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know your price predictions for UNH, both short and long term. Be patient with this one, guys. And as always, trade smart. I will see you all in the next one.